Hi everybody, welcome back to the cottage. Here on this channel, I talk a lot about minimalism, and if there's one thing I've learned over the past several years, it's that every person experiences and embraces minimalism in their own way. And so it's virtually impossible to give a perfect answer to the question, what is minimalism? And though I can't do that, I can tell you what it is not. And so that is what I want to talk about today. So some of the points I'm going to make in today's video are actually preconceptions that I had about the minimalist lifestyle before I really understood what it was all about. And although I don't claim to be an expert on the topic, I feel that I've learned a lot since my family and I have started practicing this more simple and mindful lifestyle for the past 6 years now. So the first thing I want to say about minimalism is that it is not a destination. I used to think that if I worked hard enough at simplifying and decluttering, I could eventually get myself to a place called minimalism or have enough credentials to call myself a minimalist. But the truth is that there's an entire journey involved with practicing minimalism. It's a lifestyle that is constantly evolving to meet you where you are, and it's the feeling of peace in knowing that you're taking one intentional step after another in a direction that you want to go. And just like any journey, there are going to be bumps along the way, times when life gets a bit more chaotic or clutter even starts to creep back in. That doesn't mean that you've failed at minimalism or you get kicked out of the minimalism club. In fact, recognizing when things are starting to feel unsettled can only happen if you are being really present in your life and fully aware of being intentional. And so it just means that you are continuing in the right direction for your life. For me, minimalism has been such a beautiful journey. I've learned a lot about myself in the process, and I'm happy to continue along on this path even though there is no final destination. Minimalism is also not a perfectly organized and clean life. If you were to be a fly on the wall in any minimalist's home, I almost 100% guarantee you there will be times you see messes. Socks laying on the floor, dishes piled next to the sink, maybe some books or magazines scattered amongst the coffee table or couches. It is normal human behavior. We are humans, not machines, and we do make messes. However, the thing that minimalists realize is that this mess doesn't have to stick around for very long. Many of us have systems and tips and rules in place to kind of help us get things back in order rather quickly. For me personally, I tend to be a lot more focused and creative when my space isn't bombarded by a lot of visual clutter. And so if I start to see things creeping up with clutter and mess, I tend to take action pretty quickly. So although those messes do get made, they do also get cleaned up rather quickly, which brings me to my next point. Minimalism is not an aesthetic. This is likely one of the most preconceived ideas about minimalism. Is there a certain aesthetic that goes along with being more minimal? I'd have to say yes, but that has more to do with the less is more approach, and there's just a look that kind of comes with that can go along with clothing and maybe home decor. It just shows up in those ways. But that doesn't mean that minimalism is about the aesthetic. The aesthetic is something that happens because of this less is more approach. While there may be a group of minimalists who see the aesthetic as being the most important part, I think the majority is probably focused on the feelings that it brings them. So for example, having a highly simplified wardrobe is going to bring joy and happiness when that person goes into their closet and finds clothing that always fits and always looks great on them. Or someone who has highly simplified their bedroom, gotten things very decluttered, very simplified, they're going to be able to maybe turn their brain off a little easier at night, relax a little bit more, and have a deeper sleep. So the aesthetic is there, but it's more for the feeling, not just so that it looks pretty. And while I'm on this point, I also want to be sure to say that being a minimalist does not mean that you have to swear off color for the rest of your life. Case in point, I'm wearing my favorite color today, but I think that's also preconceived that a minimalist only wears black and white and neutral colors. They only decorate their home in that way. And in reality, I know plenty of minimalists who really love color. For me personally, I've found that having that neutral background really helps those colors to pop. And so that's the kind of decor I like to have. That's the kind of clothing I like to have. A little bit of color here goes a long way. My next insight is, again, one of the more common myths about minimalism. Minimalism is not a game to see who can survive with the least. I will say that I was definitely guilty of this notion when I was first learning about minimalism. I had this idea that if I could just whittle my things down to this perfect number, that things would just suddenly become more simple and easy. But I did have questions about what that number was for different categories of items. What's the right number of books? What's the right number of shoes? Right number of toys? I had a lot of questions about that. The truth is that perfect number is different for each person depending on what season of life that they are in. And finding that just right amount is actually part of the journey. There's absolutely no set number on any category of items that is allowed as a minimalist. And you may have seen videos where people share that they have 30 items in their capsule wardrobe. That doesn't mean that you also can only have 30 items. That's just, they're kind of just sharing their own story. And you've probably also heard of people who are extreme minimalists that keep all of their belongings in their backpacks. And for that season of life, that is probably exactly what they need. Maybe they're traveling around the world, traveling around the country, and they need to keep things more mobile. But in the future, if they settle down, if they start a family, they will definitely need more items than what can fit in a backpack. And likewise, on the flip side, a large family like ours who has many children at home, we have a lot of silverware, for example. We have a lot of forks and spoons. And in the future, when our kids move out, if we decide to downsize, there's no minimalism police coming after us and saying, you know, you can't get rid of those spoons because that's the exact number. It sounds kind of silly, I know, but this is a question that I do get asked. And when they ask how many of XYZ that they can have, I always say the right number that is for you. So you have to determine that on your own. And finally, I want to end the video with this. Minimalism is not just about things. Sure, living with less is a core concept of minimalism, but there's so much more that goes into this lifestyle, so much more thoughtfulness and mindfulness than just worrying about the stuff that you have and the stuff that you surround yourself with. Minimalism is understanding what you value most in life and then eliminating anything that doesn't align with that. So being a minimalist means that you strive to be more thoughtful and purposeful in all regards of your life, including your finances, who you spend time with, where you spend your time, how you present yourself, what you eat, literally all aspects of your life. When I first started minimalism, I was mainly focused on my possessions because I knew that was a category that was giving me the most anxiety. But as time has gone on, I've come to realize the full array of benefits that come from being fully present and intentional in my life. And minimalism tends to have this trickle-down effect on a person where once you start to see progress in one category, it will move to the next. And so it really does cover a broad spectrum of your life. And as I said at the beginning, this is a journey, and so this journey is just continuing on for me as well. Well, I hope that this video gave you a little bit more insight into what minimalism truly is, and also helped to dispel some of those myths about minimalism and this lifestyle. Was there anything that I said that really surprised you? Any points I made that you hadn't considered before? I would love to chat about that down in the comment section. Also, I want to note before I end out this video that next week, minimalism for me means spending some uninterrupted quality family time over the 4th of July holiday, and so I will not have a video for you next Tuesday, but I will be back the following week with something new. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.